So it's been about 10 months since the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette has been released for public consumption, and we all know the backlash and the controversy surrounding this palette. So what I want to examine is 10 months later, has this palette improved? Is the formula the same? Is it really as bad as everybody says it was? Is it user friendly? I got this palette for my birthday this year. It has the same felt, as we all know, like the modern renaissance. It's green. This is not my most favorite shade of green, but there are quite a few greens in the palette. Now looking at this palette, you would think that the colors are not very wearable, and that's what I thought, which is kind of the reason I wanted it to challenge myself. But I don't know if you might have seen, there was a picture circulating of that if the colors were rearranged, that it would actually be like more appealing. So I'm gonna like swatch it in like color combinations that I think most people would, you know, wear it as or see it as. So the reason why I wanted to like try out this palette 10 months later is because after all of the controversy, I believe it was Novena, which is the president of Anastasia Beverly Hills, it's Anastasia's daughter, she said that they were going to change the formula back to the modern renaissance formula, and I don't know if that was ever done, if it was ever confirmed. So I like pulled up an article on Google from everybody's favorite reliable source, BuzzFeed. Let's see what they say.
A few moments later.
That article told me absolutely nothing. So yeah, I remember seeing that the formula would have changed, and I was kind of like following the drama behind it, and I don't think I've ever seen any confirmation from Novena or ABH or from anyone that the formula in fact did change. I remember that the whole thing that Novena said was that they tried a new method of pressing the eyeshadows from this palette as compared to whatever they did in the modern renaissance palette. Now look at me with two palettes. Anyway, so from using this palette over the last 3 days, I feel like the shadows perform like pressed pigments versus eyeshadows. And what I think is the difference between a pressed pigment and an eyeshadow is that an eyeshadow generally has a little bit more filler and a bit more binder, meaning that there's something in the shadows that, you know, kind of allows it to go onto your eye and to spread onto your eye. These shadows do that, but some of them, like the darker ones, kind of require a bit more work, you know. They need something to stick to because they're powdery and they're really pigmented. So I think maybe if you go into this palette with a little bit of that mindset, you know, it might work better for you. I remember Kevin James Bennett said, like, he was on the opposite side of the spectrum, and he was saying that I can't remember what he said, but he was like, you know, people are being dramatic, the palette isn't that bad, you just have to know how to use it. And I'm thinking, okay, you're a professional, but Anastasia markets her products to the everyday person, and if the everyday person can't navigate this palette, then it's not necessarily the best palette. I'm your everyday Joe, Janet. I'm your everyday Janet. And I can navigate this palette, I think, like kind of in between. And I did notice, like, I see where the controversy is. Like, again, I don't know if this is like a reformulated palette or I still got one from the old batch, or if they even ever reformulated it. But I still get, like, with certain shades, they are a lot more powdery than each other. So I didn't have to go in like with a lighter touch with my fluffy brushes, because the fluffy brushes really like pick up, but I feel like it's not that bad. Like I didn't hit pan immediately like Alyssa Ashley did, but I think like Dawn, like I've been using this for like 3 days and I've kind of made a dent in a few of the shades, particularly Electric, because and this is one of the few shimmer shades, and like I had to go in with the back of a brush and kind of scrape off the top, because this shade is particularly, it's not as pigmented, it's kind of sheer, but it is buildable. And when I was going in it with like a flat synthetic brush, like a flat shader brush, it kind of created that slight layer, you know, that shadows kind of get sometimes. It kind of did that, so I kind of had to go in with the back of my brush, so that kind of made a slight dent into it. And this palette is expensive, you know, so, but I also think that I perhaps wear more eyeshadow than the average person. Electric is a really nice highlight color, so like if you want to pack on the pigment, you will go through Electric pretty fast. Like the matte shades, you probably won't go through them that fast unless they're like really powdery. I also noticed, interestingly enough, about this palette is that one of the shades in particular that I tried on oxidized, and you know, you would hear foundations oxidize, maybe powders oxidize. I think I have experienced eyeshadows changing colors before, and it's not to say that I wasn't layering. I was just putting on one shade on my eye, and that's All Star, and it started off as one shade of red, and then I like blended, so you know, some of it came off, so I went to put back more of All Star, and the color that I put on was lighter than the rest of it. Like as I did the rest of my makeup, it's kind of like it darkened, it oxidized to match the rest of that eyeshadow that I had on earlier. So I don't really have a problem with that because it's still a gorgeous deep berry shade. So let's do some swatches, okay? So as I said, I'm going to swatch this in a not the way it's laid out, because looking at it like this kind of makes it not look wearable. I'm going to swatch it in like a wearable way. So I'm going to start with Dawn. So that's Dawn. I have some lipstick stained on my hand. Then I'm going to swatch Roxy, Edge, and New Wave next. Next, I'm going to do Fudge, and I'm going to do Mercury. Rowdy, Untamed, Access. Oops. This is a homage. Destiny and All Star. And All Star is the one that I said oxidized on my hands. So these are all of the mattes, and swatched like this, doesn't that look like a lot more wearable as compared to like watching this? Like I feel like that. I feel like All Star could have even been put in the first row, like the first few. Now I'm gonna swatch it 3 shimmers: Cube, Electric, and Dawn. Cube, Electric, Dawn. As you can see, not Cube and Electric are like, they're kind of like topper shades is what I would describe them as. So Cube is it looks white in the pan, but it's I wouldn't even say duochrome. Cube looks white, but when it's swatched is like a iridescent pink. Electric is a yellowish green, and Adorn is a metallic bronze. Adorn is very pigmented, and these two can be layered to get more pigment, but I feel like I don't even mind that they're kind of sheer, because you can even kind of use Cube and Electric as highlighters, like funky highlighters, and they can be layered for more color, more pigment. And you could like layer colors on top of them and kind of use them like topper shades and get a cool effect, you know. So that's pretty cool. So again, all of the shades. So this palette, like in terms of color selection, is very wearable. Could be used for an everyday look. You could while out with it if you wanted to and get like kind of punk and edgy. So it is nice. So it's really just the formula that kind of has us on edge, like but I feel too that the swatches can be misleading, because sometimes too much pigment is hard to blend out on the eyes, and that's something to like. A pigmented palette is, I would even say, it's not for beginners, because with something that doesn't have a lot of pigment, if you mess up, it's not, you won't really see it, you know. It will still look like a look, but when you put pigment on your eyes and you mess up, you will see it because it's pigmented. Cool. So let's, you know, test out the user friendliness of this. I'm using Kevin Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer as an eye primer. Right, this is creamy, and I generally use this for like my eyeshadows. So I am not one like completely opposed to having to, you know, bend a little for a new eyeshadow palette, especially one that's 42 US, you know. We will be bending over backwards after you already bought it and it cannot be returned. But as I say, I like to think that I'm, you know, a little intermediate level. So this palette, if it could work for me, it could work for experts, it could work for beginners, you know. But again, pigmented, harder to blend, not mistake proof. I was feeling pretty beachy, so let's do like a beachy look. I'm gonna take Edge. Ooh. So you see, like, I swirled my brush into Edge, and that is the, so it is generally quite a powdery palette. So, you know, just kind of hold it. The only thing about this is that the powder that kicks up, when you close the palette, it's gonna go away, so you're kind of wasting some product there. But eyeshadows generally last pretty long. See, now Edge is going on one color and turning into like a darker mustard. I don't know, it just kind of looks yellow, and then as I apply it, it like turns into a mustard color, which I don't mind. Ooh, why is it turning brown? Is this brush dirty? This brush might be dirty. Let's use I'm gonna use this brush. It's like, it's not made for eyeshadow, but it's like one of the few clean blending brushes I have. So I'm gonna pat it on my eye and then like brush it in.
This is a homage.
Oh wow, this actually kind of works for blending a transition color. Okay, yeah, that brush was definitely dirty. Fake news. But it is like not staying like a bright yellow as it's kind of going on to be. Don't know if you could see that. I'm going to need YouTube, like, watch. I'm gonna need you all to watch my entire video so I can get monetization back, so I can make some money and buy a new camera. Okay, so it's a process. I have another eyeshadow with a color with fudge in it.
One eternity later.
Whatever. also, when I was using it, I was trying to like layer colors, and I did experience that thing that some people experience where you put more color on top and it just ends up erasing what you've done, and you end up with like a patch of nothing in between all that pigment. And the only other time I've experienced that is with pressed pigments or loose pigments, which is why I said, like, approach some of these colors as pigments. They don't like to be interfered with, you know. Okay, so the camera needed to cool down, so in the meantime I did this eye. So let's finish this eye. There's not long again, one more step. For the shimmer shades, I like to use the NYX Multitasker Mixing Medium, which is like a sort of jelly. Okay. It's like a liquidy thingy that you could use to like put pigments on, and it kind of like dries down, and so you could like use it to make like liquid liners and stuff. Like it's that kind of thing. And what I'm gonna do is like just scrape a little bit of electric, and I love electric. It's like that yellowy green shade that is so pretty. And in an effort to not waste this expensive product, I would like whatever's left at the back of the brush, like I just wipe it off. I kind of make like a cream sort of liquid with electric going back and forth. And as I said, this one you're gonna need to build a bit, and as it's like liquidy, I kind of do like a cut crease. No need for concealer. Like it's creamy enough to kind of cut your crease with. So I'm really pressing electric in. As I said, I don't mind that this one is not the most pigmented, because of you can like layer it to get like a cool new effect, you know. This beautiful shadow in, and blending, like feathering it in with Axis. I am going to go in with some more Axis, just to make sure that color is there. I'm gonna like blend it out just a little bit more, just like reinforcing my shape, whatever shape this is. And you know, for a product that is this pigmented and powdery, I don't find myself having that much issue with fallout. But that is because I'm taking my time and dipping into it and tilt my head back and really press it on. I'm not like going in and just whoosh, because that's how you get product everywhere. So I'm gonna, the palette is powdery, so I'm gonna go in with some more edge just to blend Axis out a bit. And I think I went in with a wee bit too much, so I'm gonna go in with more Axis. I feel like I can't see. Need to bring the light closer. I'm gonna press Axis on my lower lash line and blend. Then I'm gonna take a little bit more of electric and like just put it on my lower lash line. Electric is so pretty. There you are. Some L'Oreal Voluminous for good measure. No time for lashes running out of sunlight. No time. So this is what the final look looks like. So the final verdict on the Anastasia Subculture palette 10 months later is that the palette is usable. It is powdery, but it is very nice. It's an interesting palette. If you do not own these colors, I think it's something to I think it is a palette that you would enjoy. It is a unique palette. It is very wearable and you can get very edgy with it. I love it. And just kind of go into the matte shades thinking that it's a bit of a pressed pigment. You know, it needs like a sticky base to grab onto, and it doesn't like to be interrupted too much. So do your blending first, then do your packing, and then move on. Yeah, I can review products. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.